Hey, how are you? For those of you who are big wrestling fans, you probably heard by now that for the longest time, a wrestling manager has finally made it to the WWE Hall of Fame. Excuse me. And that person's name is Paul Heyman. Now, he's not just a manager per se, he's done ownership of ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. He's been a photographer. That's how he started off in the business. And he has also been part of the production backstage for a multiple amount of years. So I look forward to his Hall of Fame speech as well as his induction because he has been in the game literally for around 5 decades. Let me explain why I mentioned 5 decades. Heyman came into the wrestling scene in his teens and he was a photographer. And he would post these photos on a wrestling magazines. I think he posted like one or two, I'm not 100% sure. And one day there was the late WWE Hall of Famer Dusty Rhodes who saw him, and Heyman thought he was going to get kicked out, arrested, whatever. But Dusty said, "Don't worry about it. You're with the best." And the next thing you know, he started becoming a photographer, and then Heyman, I guess he had a very unique look about him. He ended up managing people like Mark Callis in WCW, now known as The Undertaker. And he's also managed a few other people in his career. He's also, like I said before, owned Extreme Championship Wrestling, bringing the names of Taz, Sabu, RVD, Tommy Dreamer. The list goes on and on. He had his own hardcore wrestling association, which had the feel of Japanese wrestling with barbed wire matches and a few other matches, which would get the average person squeamish and puking or whatnot. That style of wrestling lasted, I believe, 8 years, and the WWE were financially keeping it afloat because Vince McMahon himself even said, I actually gave $500,000 to keep that afloat. So basically, Vince kept his competition alive until he bought it back in 2001. So there you go. Now, let's not forget also that Paul Heyman also was a manager in WCW doing the Dangerous Alliance. He also had Missy Hyatt with him and a lot of other people forming a lot of other forming mainly the Dangerous Alliance, and he had this big, huge cell phone, which back in the 90s looked like a murder weapon for all I know. And he had the long hair, and he was there for some time. Now, keep in mind, he was also in WWE 20 years ago when he was when he was the SmackDown general manager. And he also kind of managed a few other people. He did a managerial role. He still does to this day. He's managed Brock Lesnar, also currently Roman Reigns, and several other people in his career. And he's an absolute genius when it comes to certain things. Him and Eric Bischoff are both in the same category, but Bischoff never in his career ever managed anybody. But that's a different story altogether. So with everything I just mentioned, all the accomplishments that Paul Heyman has ever done, he has his rightful place finally in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, keep in mind, the guy is in his mid to late 50s, and he's been there for some time. I mentioned 5 decades in the business. Gross exaggeration, more likely 4, because he came into the business when he was a teen. And you can't get any better than that. So, congratulations to Paul Heyman in his future induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, my question is, who's going to induct this guy? It's all a matter of time. Take care.